The mind-blowing demands that the Deputy President has asked the Kenya Kwanza administration to allocate for his office points out to a clear scheme why the recent outburst of the DP going against his boss is part of a wider scheme to blackmail KK into submission. And what puzzles the nation is the fact that those who take the microphone to remind the nation that we must live within our means are actually the very ones that are leading us in living off our means. Ladies and gentlemen, Rigathi Gachagua must be called out. And I think the office of the DP must come out clear and explain really what is behind this scheme. The principal administrative secretary in the office of the Deputy President, Mr. Patrick Keige, struggled in Parliament to explain some pertinent questions on the 2.6 billion budget that the handlers of the Son of Madeira are demanding to be allocated for that office. And there is no difference because even State House have had such exorbitant budgets being channeled. But in this podcast, I want you to take time because we are going to break it down. What exactly are they demanding and what is behind it? DP has been absconding the tree planting exercise, and the raging debate on one man, one shilling, one vote is part of crisis manufacturing so that he can get his pie. Because the more the president will understand that I'm falling out with my deputy, he will start asking very serious questions on the future of his politics in 2027. And probably that's why Rigathi is talking about one man, one shilling, one vote. But I want us to break down and look at what the DP's office are demanding. Out of the 2.6 billion that is demanded for that office, among the figures queried by the Committee on Administration and Internal Security, 460 million the DP is asking for refurbishment of Arambe Annex, and another 660 million set for renovation of the current official residence. I can't just remember how many times these two offices are supposed to be renovated. Because a month after the election in 2022, there was a first supplementary budget that was passed by the National Assembly that went into renovating the two offices. And by that time, the Deputy President came out to say that because Uhuru Kenyatta was not in good terms with his deputy, that office was deprived of finances and was not even renovated. The stories of this nation were told about how the Deputy President was staying even in a leaking roof. So this is not something that you can just take out of the ordinary. They said it by then that that office was even leaking, and then that is why it had to be renovated. So I don't know whether every financial year there must be money for renovation. And I think the nation must be very cautious because the set-aside funds for renovation could be the new conduit of siphoning the public funds. And these are the fellows that are telling you we must live within our means. The committee led by Narok West MP Gabriel Tongoyo is also wondering and is asking Rigathi Gachagua to explain why he needs 800 million as confidential expenditure. Remember, this is public money. These are people's taxes. Kenyans are breaking their backs to do their work so that government can still get the tax. But here is the second in command saying, I need 800 million confidential expenditure. The word confidential means secret. So this is spending that might not be subjected into any audit. And so the committee is asking, what is this confidential 800 million? What is this money for? Is it a question of just someone needing money for himself? What is so confidential in a public office? Does the DP run a parallel intelligence that needs a conventional budget? Or is the DP running a budget for the military that is also confidential? Because if it is laid public, it is a threat to the national security. What is so confidential about this? And so Rigathi Gachagua needs 800 million. This is money like given to him in his pocket. And one should question what he's going to do with that money. But as if that is not enough, the DP has also requested for 250 million for the fight against alcohol and drug abuse. And I want to show you something here. This 250 million, it's not money that is being requested. This is an appropriation. So what they are saying, in April this year, they went and withdrew 250 million from the exchequer through the Article 223, which is supplementary estimates, without the approval of Parliament. And the MPs are asking that, according to the law and the PFM Act in 2012, before any money is withdrawn from the exchequer, it should be approved. Probably, you should actually notify Parliament that you're going to, the committee, that you're going to withdraw that money. Now, this money was already withdrawn and used, and so they're going to Parliament just for approval, for appropriation of the money, because that is what the article is saying is, you can spend something outside the budget, but then you'll have a leeway of going back to Parliament for approval after using it. But the question about 250 million is more stronger. Because Korere, who is a member of that committee, has tasked and they chased away the principal administrative secretary to come back with an itemized list of what the 250 million was used for. The DP's office are saying in the month of August, this money was supposed to be used for the drug and substance abuse campaign. And the drug and substance abuse campaign has been largely in Mount Kenya. And what has been going on, it is messaging on two things. And it's being done in funerals and harambes. The two interventions so far that have been done. And most of those interventions are administrative changes. The Deputy President has requested and has been pushing for the County Liquor Board to surrender the responsibility, the mandate of licensing the restaurants and bars back to NACADA. That is an administrative work that only requires probably the County Assembly to pass some legislation. So that role is transferred from County Liquor Board to NACADA. Does that really need something called a budget? Where is that 250 million spent in making that administrative change? Because it has also not been granted. I think the governors have refused. The other second development, which is also administrative intervention, is the county governments, the governors, have also been moving in to cap the number of bars and restaurants that can be operated within a town, and also restricting running liquor stores next to installations such as schools and hospitals and maybe children homes. So this has been, those two have been administrative changes. And I want to sample to you what the DP has always said in public. And these are the only activities, these are the only things that the public can hear the DP talking about.
Ni jambo ambaye tutaendelea. Kukiwa Mother's Day, niseme nikiwa hapa Embu, wamama wetu katika Kenya, hasa katika mlima Kenya, hapa Mount Kenya region walikuwa na shida kubwa sana kwa hii mambo ya pombe ambaye inaua watoto wetu, na watu wetu wameumia, na tulikuwa tumefika pahali karibu tupoteze an entire generation. Vijana walikuwa wanalishwa na akina mama. Vijana hawezi fanya kazi kwa shamba, hawezi fanya kazi kwa barabara, kwa sababu kuna wakora walikuwa nauza pombe. Hii vita itaendelea mwaka huu wa 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, mpaka tuhakikishe pombe ya kuua watoto wetu haitaletwa hapa Embu ama kwingineko katika Jamhuri la Kenya. And I want to thank the county commissioner and the county security team and all your officers for the good job you have done in this great county. And I also want to thank the county government and the Governor Barire for cooperating with our officers kufanya kazi pamoja. Governor Barire was the first governor bila kuogopa wenye ba alisema sifungwe. Wakamwambia watamfukuza, akasema hata akifukuzwa atapata bahali ya kwenda. Sasa Governor, I want to thank you because the cooperation between the county government and our officers has paid results. Nimekuja na barabara leo kutoka Nairobi nikitaka kuona kama vijana wamekuwa soba, na nimefurahi sana. All the way nimekuja nikiangalia, nikisimama nikiangalia, kwa sababu miezi 6 iliyopita kwa trading center vijana walikuwa hawezi hata kusimama. Kila kijana alikuwa mlevi, na mimi nimefurahi sana ya kwamba vijana ni soba tena ni wasafi.
So everything is suspect with this program of substance and drug abuse. I agree, and of course the nation is in concurrence that substance and drug abuse is a big menace in the country, and also especially in Mount Kenya. But again, it is not an exclusive Mount Kenya problem. This is a problem that spans all the way from Mombasa to my tiny village in Papnyadia. So it is not really true, and what the country seem not to understand is why the deputy president will need money just to run a campaign within an area. We've not seen the DP going to Kisumu, where there is illicit brew there. I've not seen the deputy president somewhere in Kakamega, where there is also still the same problem. So what has been set aside, and what exactly are their intervention? I want to believe if this was a campaign, then the campaign should be lobbying on administrative changes. Because if it is about funding, then NACADA is the institution that is supposed to fight drug abuse. What the DP should be doing is lobbying for funding and institutional changes and the mandate of NACADA to be improved so that it can be a body that can fight this. The question here is, the DP's work is already cut out. And if the president is the person that assigns roles to the DP, the constitution already outlined the responsibilities and the mandate of the office of the deputy president. How he abdicated himself a role to be a chief campaigner for substance and drug abuse can only be explained as a political campaign, populist campaign, to excite members of his community. And this is something that must be called out. Other than the allocations of the 250 million, remember also the office of the spouse of the deputy president, which is his wife, is also demanding some more funding to establish rehabilitation centers and still on this substance and drug abuse. So how is it that members of the family are all just in one space of this substance and drug abuse? Why don't it be left then to the spouse of the deputy president? Because at least them, they're saying they're training those boys, they're building rehabilitation centers. I don't know they've built even one. But the DP's role exactly in substance and drug abuse is not clearly being seen, apart from talking tough about this problem in funerals and harambes. But maybe if I'm wrong, someone can challenge me. Now, there is 37.5 million for purchase of office furniture, fitting, and 2 million for purchase of educational aids and related equipment. Fine. The part of renovation was even buying the furnitures. So is it in order for every year someone to be rolling a budget of buying furnitures here and there? So there is also 200 million for purchase of cars. They're saying that the officers there have been using Uber and then making claims. So the senior officers are supposed to be bought cars. They've been using Ubers and personal cars. And of course, some make sense, like buying cars for the office of the deputy president. What I don't really also understand here is, this office of the deputy president is not a new office. Even when President Ruto was there, before even President Ruto fell out with the deputy, with his boss, this office was there and was getting allocation. Are we going to buy cars there for the first time? Don't we have cars there that are just supposed to be renovated? Because the cost of buying new cars, and I'm telling you, after some 5 years, we'll still be buying some other new cars, and we are talking about living within our means. But Kenya Kwanza seems to be out of touch with this whole discussion they are making in public about living within our means. So the deputy president's principal administrative secretary could not clearly explain what they did for that money. And I want to explain this looking at this budget process. I'm insisting and I'm saying this. I think that is what the pundits are explaining. That the DP is not honest. The truthful man is not very honest on this. At least we can allow the others. You know, yes, we can allow renovation. Fine, there is no problem because even the president is renovating. We can allow the 250 million, even if the 250 million for substance and drug abuse, because maybe you understand it can do something, at least there's something pegged on it. But how do you need 800 million for confidential? How do you just want to take 800 million taxpayers' money for your own pocket for confidential? What is confidential in a public office? And if we are going to set that precedence that someone can say confidential, then also in the ministry, the cabinet also started rolling confidential budgets, and the state house also having confidential budgets. Then at the end of the day, are we going to live within our means? Because even if it's confidential, why 800? That looks like money for political campaigns. Now, William Ruto must understand, and it is a matter of urgency, Kenya Kwanza extravagance is going to sink that region. The kind of extravagance is going to sink Ruto administration. If the DP is leading, then tell me, what about the other ministers? If at the top, if it is rotten at the top, then the whole system will collapse. So even as you make the poetic talk about what you think we need to live within our means, I saw the budget committee, appropriation committee led by Ndindi Nyoro, actually ambitiously saying they are going to reduce the fiscal deficit by 325 billion, I think if I'm not wrong. They're going to reduce it by 323 billion. Remember what we've been having in this country, the biggest problem we've been having here is we make an appropriation budget with some revenue target that we don't achieve. So we end up going to borrow more to achieve our target because, for example, we have, I just want to use an example of you have a budget of 3 billion, and I'm just using that simple. We don't have a budget of 3 billion. And, or let me just use the last financial year. We had an appropriation budget of 3.3 trillion. But the estimate of what we could collect was around 2.5 billion. 2.5, I think around 2.5 trillion if I'm not wrong. So what that means here is we need to go back to the market to lend, to loan, to pick more debts. And that's where we've had a problem. So on the one hand, what we are trying to do now, and that's what Kenya Kwanza is trying to do now, they are saying, we are going to reduce our budget so that we don't borrow more and we finance it with our taxes. But if the taxes are going to be used to finance such extravagance, then the great ambition of even stopping debts by financing taxes, if taxes are going to finance such extravagance, then we just rather borrow, then stop bothering Kenyans with heavy taxation. Remember, the question has never been on being taxed. The question has been on how that tax is used. Number two, Rigathi fallout with William Ruto is imminent. And from where I'm seated, he might get away with this. This financial year, it might get away with it. By the time we'll be getting to the 2027, and these demands will still boil up, you'll understand. And in fact, I understand the reason why Uhuru Kenyatta partly fell out with the deputy. Because what happens here is most of the deputies are eyeing presidency. So they want to run parallel programs on campaigns. And what they want to do is government money. I am a bit tempted to believe that the 800 million being asked is money supposed to be pumped in a political campaign moving forward towards 2027. Now, number three, I think Kenya Kwanza and the parliament must rein in to cut the line between the roles of the deputy president, mandate of the deputy president in constitution, and what could be empowerment programs. The line has to be drawn. If we want to do a campaign, a drug abuse campaign, and it's supposed to be led by the deputy president, I think the role of the DP in such a campaign should be well defined. The terms of reference in that campaign should be well defined, as in what is the role of the DP in it? Will it be convening regional meetings with the leaders and pushing, trying to push the relevant institutions, working relevant institutions towards the same? That needs to come out clearly. Because remember, the DP also have the Rigathi Gachagua Foundation that can do these programs. So are these programs being done as a deputy president, or these programs are just being run by the DP as the director of the Rigathi Gachagua Foundation? Because to the best of my knowledge, it is in order, yes, the DP can voice his concern. And every government have always come through to try to rein in on substance abuse. Remember, even Uhuru Kenyatta tried doing something. But there is suspect on the way it is being done. Because on this one, I am not seeing a multi-agency approach between the office of the DP and that of the Interior. In fact, what the DP has been doing is threatening chiefs and assistant chiefs about if the alcohol doesn't, and in fact in recent speech he's saying they've done 75% of it, so partly they are done with it. As if that felt. Number three, or lastly, the confidential allocations must be defined. This is taxpayers' money. This is not your money that has been withdrawn from your business. This is taxpayers' money. And because it is taxpayers' money, we understand that the Constitution has given us where confidential budgets are. The military, because it's for the security of the nation. The intelligence, because of other factors. And there could be also others that are constitutional. But the office of the deputy president is a constitutional office funded by taxpayers' money, and its accountability, it must count for every shilling that given. Even if you are not going to lie, even if you're going to lie to us about renovations and you're buying pencils and you're buying some laptops and computers here, better. But don't come out and say confidential. Everything is suspect by it. Thank you, guys.